被诈骗了30万人民币。
The average victim in the search for a wife has been scammed out of 300,000 yuan. Recently, the Anhui police successfully uncovered a major cross-provincial marriage fraud case involving over 10 million yuan and arrested 74 suspects. The fraud gang behind the case used what appeared to be a legitimate marriage agency to organize meetings between single men from Anhui and women from Yuan. The entire fraud process was carefully planned. The women would first meet the men, and if both parties were interested in further development, the man was required to pay a bride price ranging from 200,000 to 300,000 yuan. After briefly interacting with the men, these women would receive gold rings, necklaces, and bracelets, then return to Yunnan under various pretenses. Once they returned home, they would cease all contact with the men. When the men initially attempted to contact them, the women would answer the phone and make excuses. Eventually, the contact would be completely severed. Even when they did answer, they would claim to have had a change of heart or give reasons like the man's poor family background or his parents' mistreatment of her, using these as excuses to break up. Even more enraging is the fact that this fraud gang did not only operate in Anhui, but also victimize people in neighboring provinces like Hunan and Shandong. According to the police investigation, these women were not randomly chosen, but were from remote areas of Yunnan. Most of them had never seen the outside world and lacked sufficient understanding of issues like marriage and family. The marriage agency lured men by promising to find an honest and obedient wife, which made the men and their families believe that marriage would be easy, just pay the bride price, and a wife would be delivered. These single men and their families were overjoyed at the thought of getting an honest and beautiful wife without having to leave home. However, in the end, these men and their families realized they had been deceived. The marriage agency not only provided fraudulent marriage introductions, but also offered contracts, service agreements, post-marriage promises, and other documents that seemed to have legal validity. In reality, these documents were nothing more than tools for the scam. This case reveals a deep lesson. The bigger the marriage agency, it does not necessarily mean its services are reliable. In fact, many people believe that contracts and agreements can protect them, not realizing the hidden traps within them. Think about it carefully. If you're buying a product, even a livestock, you'd at least pay a deposit, right? But for a woman worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, she's delivered to your door without a single penny exchanged. You think you can pay later once you've decided, but you're wrong. You like to believe scammers, thinking that good things fall from the sky without effort. Have you even considered whether you're handsome enough? Is your mental state normal? Is your family situation good? Are you tall enough? You think that just because you have some money, you can buy a wife and live a happy life. This is foolish to the extreme. Our ancestors have a saying that fits you perfectly. Those who are pitiful often have something hateful about them. It's like a curved knife slicing through a gourd lid. It's a match made in heaven for misfortune. In reality, this simple truth is not that you don't understand it, but that your greed and desires are too strong. That's why you're easily deceived. You always think you can outsmart the system, but no matter how much you teach or scold, you won't learn.
大家好，我是胡律师，今天在这个安徽省宿州市永条区。
Hello everyone, I am Lawyer Hu. Today, I am handling a marriage fraud case in Suzhou City, Anhui Province. The parties involved are currently at the police station giving their second statement. According to the information provided by the party involved, he was defrauded of 288,000 yuan as a bride price, and also paid various fees under different names such as marriage introduction fees and service fees. In total, he spent over 300,000 yuan. However, after marriage, the wife not only refused to live as a couple, but no matter what her thoughts were, she could leave at any time, returning to her hometown or just disappearing without notice. She would often argue with her husband over trivial matters and then disappear. Our client reported the case locally, but initially, no case was filed. After persistent efforts from our team, the case was finally filed as a criminal case, and further investigations have begun. Later, during the in-depth investigation, we found that the victims of this marriage fraud case span across Anhui, Jiangsu, Hunan, and other regions, and the number of victims may have reached hundreds. So far, more than 100 suspects have been arrested, and the case is still under further investigation. So, why have these fraudulent marriage agencies been able to operate so large-scale and audaciously? Let me explain their modus operandi in detail. These marriage agencies collaborate with others across the country, then recruit a large number of young women from a province in southwest China, promising them large bride prices and a certain percentage of the profit, as long as they can marry the man on the same day. After marriage, these women would quickly divorce or simply disappear without a trace, and thereafter, they would no longer be responsible for anything. Through this model, these agencies quickly attracted a large number of victims in a short period, most of whom paid high bride prices, marriage introduction fees, and other expenses. From what I understand, the amounts defrauded from victims generally hover around 300,000 yuan, with some even paying more. Currently, the boss of this marriage agency has been arrested by the police, and more than 100 accomplices related to the case have also been apprehended. The case is still under further trial. As a lawyer, I would like to remind everyone here, when it comes to emotions and marriage, do not rush for quick gains. Be rational when making decisions and avoid being easily deceived by sweet-talking individuals.
大家看那个新闻了吗？闪婚闪离多地频发，女方多在半年内离开。
Have you all been following the news lately? The phenomenon of flash marriages and flash divorces has been happening frequently in many places, especially with many women choosing to leave within 6 months of marriage. So, what's the biggest benefit of flash marriages and flash divorces? Even if you want to sue the other party, the woman can still keep a certain percentage of the bride price and can even refuse to return a single penny. And the trick behind this is legal and compliant, making it a business that's almost risk-free. So here's the question. If you knew in advance that you spent hundreds of thousands on a marriage, but you might face such an outcome, would you still rush to get married as a man? And as a man's parents, would you still anxiously want to have a grandson? This reminds me of a sentence I saw before. Why can't we unite and strike, resisting cheap labor? The reason is simple. There will always be betrayers in the crowd. Give me 3,000 yuan, and I'll go do it. The same logic applies here. Why does the phenomenon of high bride prices and marriage scams continue to persist? Why can't everyone unite to resist these marriage scammers? Because even among men, there are traitors. Some people even say, as long as I can get married, I'm willing to pay a bride price of 380,000 yuan. So when you think about it, capitalists and those scammers are indeed greedy, but what ultimately triggers these greedy impulses is still you. Although my words might sound harsh, no one is holding a knife to your throat to make you hand over the money. You're willingly putting the money into someone else's hands. You want to get married, so the person agrees to marry you. But do you really think that a marriage certificate guarantees you'll be together for life? Sorry, but a marriage certificate cannot guarantee that those women will stay with you for a lifetime. If a woman asks you to pay a bride price, could you walk away without hesitation? If a girl pressures you to give her money, could you call the police without any hesitation? Once you've been scammed, don't blame others. We often say it's pitiful to be scammed, but you must understand that in the end, the choice was still yours. If you've been scammed, it's ultimately your decision. Just like those traders who are willing to pay a huge price, the decision they made is also their choice. As long as you're mentally prepared, you should accept the consequences you have to bear.
所谓的婚介和假红娘，我想问一下。
Those so-called marriage agencies and fake matchmakers, I really want to ask you, can't you first help someone introduce a partner and then collect the fees? If you encounter those marriage agencies or matchmakers who ask you to pay up front, you can directly tell them. If they can successfully introduce you to a suitable partner, you would be willing to pay them 10,000 yuan, or even 20,000 yuan. Then you can see how many marriage agencies or matchmakers are still willing to continue communicating with you. The truth is, deep down, they know it's very difficult to help you find a suitable match. The money they earn is mostly through various deceitful tactics, tricking it out of your hands. Their ultimate goal is to earn your membership fees. Simply put, they don't invest much time or effort into truly finding you a match. Once they've taken the money, you're left with nothing but having to please them. Not only have you spent money, but you also have to beg them to help you. Moreover, if you carefully look at examples around you, you will realize how many people really spent so much money at marriage agencies only to fail in finding a suitable partner. In fact, most people didn't get the results they wanted. So I hope more people who have been tricked or misled can step forward and share their experiences. Perhaps with your small act of kindness, you can help others avoid many losses. After all, positive actions often require collective effort. A single person's power is limited, but when everyone works together, we can help more people see the truth and avoid being deceived when it comes to marriage.
好了，你这回都不嫖了吧？都不弄了吧？
You women's behavior is simply unbearable to watch. How long do you think you can stay proud? When the matchmaker introduces you to someone, you haven't even officially started dating yet. The moment you open your mouth, you demand to buy a car outright, buy a house outright, and ask for a bride price of several 100,000 yuan. You have no ability yourself, and your salary is only 2,000 yuan. Yet you demand that the man's salary be over 20,000 yuan. Why don't you take a good look at your own worth? You always demand tens of thousands of yuan in bride price from men. Okay. But once you get the bride price, go ahead and live well with it. After a year or so, or even just a few months, you start complaining that the man's family is no good, that the man treats you poorly. If they're no good, are you perfect? Once the time is up, you start finding excuses to divorce. You take that several 100,000 yuan bride price and run off. You are scamming people, you are hurting others, do you know that? Some women even refuse to marry if the man's parents are elderly, or if he has several siblings. Let me be blunt, don't your own family have siblings? Won't your parents grow old? Will you never get old yourself? You want to scam the marriage for money, but you still find excuses. I truly have no words for you women who are the disgrace of your gender. This is why so many men are choosing not to marry nowadays. A lot of men have woken up, they're scared of being deceived by you gold-digging women. So, in the end, you gold diggers won't find a man. If you want a bride price of several 100,000 yuan, a fully paid car, a fully paid house, go ahead and dream on.
现在骗婚骗彩礼的女的越来越多了。以前
Now more and more women are scamming through marriage and bride price. In the past, I would only see others getting scammed online, but I never expected that I would be the one getting scammed this time. I want to share my personal experience and warn everyone, telling you how I was scammed out of 160,000 yuan step by step. First of all, the woman who scammed me with marriage and bride price was very good at packaging herself, especially when she talked about her family situation, which seemed very impressive. In reality, all of it was fake. Looking back now, I feel so stupid. A woman with such good conditions must have many people introducing her to potential partners in real life. She definitely didn't need to rely on online matchmaking. But at that time I believed her completely. Then, she took the initiative to meet me. After we met, a key event happened. She pretended that a woman with her was her mother. At that time, I didn't realize whether this was true or not. She told me this person was her mother and I just believed it. Looking back, it really seems like a very laughable thing. What kind of arranged marriage is it where the parents haven't even met, yet her mother took the initiative to add me on WeChat? Since I had no experience with these things and she seemed sincere, I didn't suspect anything and trusted her immediately. After adding her mother's contact, I started to trust her, which became an important step in her manipulating and scamming me. It all started when she borrowed 10,000 yuan from me, claiming that her friend was sick and needed money. She also said she had borrowed money from a friend before and now needed to pay it back. At the time, I thought if a friend needed help, I would lend her 10,000 yuan. Then, just a few days later, she told me that her family didn't support us being together, especially her father, who was against it. I didn't know the specifics. But she knew that I really wanted to be with her, and at that time I was completely captivated by her beauty. So, she used this emotional manipulation to ask me for a 150,000 yuan bride price. I didn't think too much about it and directly gave her the money. This is the full story of how I was scammed out of 160,000 yuan. We had known each other for less than 3 months, and the actual time we met was less than a month. In that time, she scammed me out of 160,000 yuan. Now she has blocked me and I can no longer contact her. Her so-called mother's WeChat account has also blocked me.
What should you do if you've been deceived into marriage? I remind everyone once again, before getting married, Make sure to understand the background of your partner thoroughly. Otherwise, when you discover issues later, it will be too late to regret and cry out in despair. If you go to the police or file a lawsuit, the result may be that you can't even prove it was fraud. By then, you might feel completely hopeless. To avoid such a situation, it is crucial to investigate your partner's information before marriage. So, how can you legally access this information? You can check these 3 websites. The first website is China Judgments Online. By simply entering the person's name, you can check if they've ever been sued, whether they have criminal convictions, whether they've been imprisoned, or even if they've ever been divorced. You can also find out the reasons for the divorce and whether it was related to domestic violence or infidelity. The second website is China Execution Information Disclosure Network. Here, you can enter your partner's name and ID number to check if they are an untrustworthy person or if they have any unpaid debts. While these are pre-marriage debts, after marriage, the couple's assets are often affected as well. Just imagine getting married and suddenly burdened with huge debts. How can your marriage still be happy? The third website is People's Bank of China Credit Information Center. Through this site, you can check an individual's credit report, see their loan and debt status, civil judgment records, and even check utility payment records. If there are any issues with their credit, the spouse will be impacted as well. Some might say that shouldn't people trust each other in a relationship? Yes, mutual trust is important, but I do not advocate blind trust. You must understand that your life is your responsibility. Here's an additional tip for everyone. If your partner refuses to cooperate in checking their information, there might be 2 reasons. Either she is narrow-minded and unwilling to disclose personal information. Besides, if she refuses to cooperate in checking her personal information, do you think she might be preparing to deceive you into marriage? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to bring you better content. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.